Okay, good morning everybody. It's you've got to be very hard-hearted not to turn onto the towpath and see the stadium hove into view on a sunny day like this and not have your heart lifted by memories of last summer's fantastic Olympics and Paralympics. And I'm delighted to welcome you here today for what's an extremely important week for British athletics, culminating in tickets for the Sainsbury's anniversary games going on sale this Friday. So anybody who hasn't registered their interest, they've got till midnight on Wednesday to do so. I'm expecting a pretty substantial rush for those tickets. But we've got a series of announcements. Tomorrow, another partnership announcement. Also the names of the British athletes that will be competing in those games in July. And on Wednesday, the names of the international athletes that will be competing in those games. I don't think the public will be disappointed in any way by those pair of athlete announcements. But we're here today for the most important announcement of all, which is a new long-term partnership between British Athletics and Sainsbury's. I'm joined here this morning by Justin King, Chief Executive of Sainsbury's, and Hugh Robertson, the Sports Minister, both known well to all of you, I'm sure. So what is this partnership all about? Well, it has two elements to it. First of all, you'll see that the summer series of major athletics events in the UK is now billed the Sainsbury's Summer Series. That includes 7 days of televised major elite athletics, including, I'm delighted to say, 2 days of Paralympic athletics. Firstly, in Birmingham on our Grand Prix weekend, we have the very first ever IPC Athletics Grand Prix Series final. So a first for the IPC, and certainly it's delighting for us that Birmingham is going to host that first final. And also the 3 days of athletics at the Sainsbury's anniversary games, culminating in an IPC International Challenge, where we're going to see all of the major British names from last summer's Paralympics competing again in the stadium, and a lot of the champions from the World Championships that are culminating that very weekend in Lyon in France, coming over here to compete in the Olympic Stadium in front of, I'm sure, a packed crowd. So the Sainsbury's sponsorship is hugely important for us in enabling us to bring great athletics and great athletes over here before the British public in Birmingham and in the Olympic Stadium once more. But the second element is, in many ways, even more exciting for me as the Chairman of British Athletics, which is a long-term partnership with Sainsbury's to support all of our disability athletics and our Paralympic athletics activities. That spans everything from support for the elite British team and the Paralympic programme through to our grassroots talent ID athlete development activity under our Parallel Success banner. So that's everything from identifying coaches, athletes themselves, giving them competition opportunities, giving them coaching development, athlete development, and funding a lot of their competition opportunities internationally, so they can come through as the likes of Hannah Cockcroft did, who's here today, Johnny Peacock, from people that are new to the sport through to gold medal winning performances in Rio 2016, and then the IPC World Championships that will again be in this stadium in London 2017. So this is hugely exciting for us, very important part of our commercial programme, but also our Paralympic programme. So thank you very much to Justin, to Sainsbury's, for the confidence they've shown in British athletics and in our Paralympians of today and of tomorrow. And I'll hand over to Justin now to talk through the reason why Sainsbury's are working with us here today.
Thank you, Ed, and morning everyone. Thanks for coming out first thing on a Monday morning. I'd like to start by going all the way back to the launch of Active Kids 9 years ago. Active Kids has been the programme that we've run as a collection scheme in our stores to put sporting equipment into schools. We're in its 9th year this year. By this September we'll have donated around £120 million worth of sporting equipment to schools and other youth groups across the country. The reason I want to go back to that is that what we learned from that was that for many of our young people, opportunity to get involved in sport early on was taken away. Certainly for someone of my age, to discover the lack of sporting opportunity in schools compared to when I was there was a shock. And it became clear that that was something that our parents, our shoppers, shared. That's why it's been such a successful scheme. Out of that, though, we also understood that young people need inspiration, and we wanted to be involved if you like, at the grassroots, active kids, all the way through to the very highest levels. And over the years we've been involved. I first met Ed when we sponsored the English Schools Athletics Championship, and we've been involved for a number of years now in sport. Of course, the Paralympics was in many ways the pinnacle for our sponsorship, but it taught us that this was ground that continued to inspire our customers and colleagues. You have at the back of the room, you'll see some Sainsbury's colleagues in uniform, so they're easily identifiable. They're all games makers from the Paralympics last year, so do take the opportunity to find out a little about the role that Sainsbury's played in the Paralympics. And I think it is widely recognised, not just by us at Sainsbury's, that we played a pivotal role in the tremendous success that the Paralympics became in engaging the wider public in Paralympic sport, but also I think on the issue of inclusivity. And that's why quickly after the Games we launched our support of the British Paralympic Association through to Rio in 2016, and launched a programme called Active Kids for All, which is a programme that we run with a number of partner groups, including British Athletics, to train the trainer, help sports teachers in schools include disabled children in mainstream PE activities. And as it happens, and I think she's here somewhere, Sophia, I met at that event back in November when we launched it, and there started a conversation about what this summer might be, and that's what we're announcing today. We're particularly excited about the inclusive nature of the events, the fact that we're bringing together, if you like, Olympic and Paralympic athletes across a single weekend in the case of the Grand Prix and of course the anniversary games. We're calling it, as you know, the Sainsbury's Summer Series, but as you've heard from Ed, we don't just see this as a one-off support for the series, which we hope will again inspire a generation of young people, but also in the development activities of the British Athletics organisation through to 2017. And I should point out that this now straddles nicely from active kids at one end of the spectrum through to the support of these events, our support for school games more generally. I was on a platform with Hugh about 6 months ago when we announced the Sainsbury's School Games. They take place in Sheffield this September, and we now support all 4 levels of school sport, inter-school, intra-school, county sport, and of course at the national level at the School Games, which is still the largest multi-sport event for young people in the world. So we're very proud of our involvement. As we said, post the Paralympics, we didn't see it as a moment in time that then you walk away from. We saw it as an opportunity to continue with a legacy, and this announcement today is a key part of that.
Just really to add to that very quickly, from the national perspective, this is an important day. It's incredibly important for us internationally because it's very easy when you look back on the success of last summer and you have all the debates about the stadium and legacy to forget that one of the key promises that delivered the bid back in 2005 was that promise to leave a world-class athletics legacy in its wake. Had we not made that promise, it is very, very unlikely, I think, that we would have won that bid in Singapore. So actually what is being announced today, the first big athletics legacy event in the stadium, is a key deliverable that dates right back to that bid in 2005. It's also clearly very important to us nationally as well, as they not only for the promises we made internationally, but also this is the final part of the legacy story. All the 8 major venues on the park are now let to legacy tenants. It was always our hope that this would turn into a multi-use stadium with a football club involved. That is exactly what has been delivered, and the fact that we have a major athletics event in there a year after the event, the end of the Games, and then of course the World Athletics Championships to follow in 2017 is incredibly important for the legacy story. This is not a city where you're going to walk into the stadium and find tumbleweed blowing through it in the years after the Games. And the third thing is this is very important for both the two organisations sitting next to me. Incredibly important for UK athletics. Ed was telling me that it looks as if this is going to sell pretty well. That is really important for athletics because not only is that good for the success of the sport, but that then gives Ed more money that he can invest in the development of the sport in its grassroots thereafter. And I should also add, a particular thanks to Justin. Sainsbury's have been a regular investor in sport in this country. Justin took you through much of the history of that. There is an argument that his sponsorship of the Paralympics was the sort of advertising coup of last summer in many ways, but it's great to see that that was not just a one-off and it's part of a much longer-term commitment by the company to sport in this country. So for that, Justin, thank you.
Thank you.
Probably the last thing to say is I should get on the website pretty quickly on Friday morning.
Good.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Hugh. We won't take questions in open forum.
Hard work, dedication. Hard work. Dedication.